I like to start this show with a game. And because I always knew you were going to be a guest on my show, I've been working on this game for a long time. Like I already knew what game we were going to play when we finally did this together. This is called Whose Fault Is It? Because you're a dog trainer and you will know exactly whose fault these common dog behaviors are, like whose fault they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ready. All right. A dog eating diapers out of the trash. Whose fault is it?
They have pet parents.
Whomever left the diaper in accessible.
Or the baby. I mean, I guess you could.
You know, if the baby's like painting with poo, it's definitely out of the pet parent's control, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And those who don't have children, that happens. It has not happened, knock on wood, at this house yet, but I'm sure it's happened to many people. All right, second one, dog counter surfing. Whose fault is it?
The pet parent. If you left stuff on your counter to make it like a virtual slot machine for them to play all the time, you kind of done the damage there. So kind of your fault.
I cannot disagree. Dog sniffing guests inappropriately. Whose fault is it?
The dog's fault. I mean, it's what they know. It's how they talk to each other. Now, if they know that they do that and it's bothersome to the person, then it's the pet parent's fault for allowing that situation to take place. There's leashes and gates, but that's just dog communication.
Dog begging at the table. Whose fault is it?
So that could be both. I would say both parts right there. I would say it's the pet parent's fault because theoretically, if they've fed from there, if they've adopted a dog that had a history of doing it, that's kind of out of your control, right? But also the dog's fault because the dog could just smell a lot of goodness or see people eating and want to take part. So that's equal parts right there.
Yeah. So we've never let our dogs eat from the table, but Titan still will sit there and beg. And then of course, later in life, when my kids did baby-led weaning, of course, that reinforced the begging,
right?
Which is kind of hard to change unless you're separating them completely. But yeah, I blame Titan. Dog marking inside the house. Whose fault is it?
Well, if it's marking, that is a really big doggy behavior. I see that a lot with dogs before they're neutered. So that's really dog fault. However, if that's true marking, if it's just peeing everywhere, I'd say pet parent fault because we haven't potty trained very well.
Amen. Dog chewing on furniture. Whose fault is it?
Pet parent. Because there are such wonderful things called crates when they're not attended. If you can't pay attention, there's things you can do to contain them. I've had many a case where a dog has chewed something up and I've only ever said, that was my fault.
Yep, exactly. I've had the same experience. I remember we had just gotten a couch when Socks was a puppy and I laid in the couch, like on the couch watching TV, and I watched her take a bite out of it. And I was like, she's bored. She's a puppy. We haven't walked her. It's winter. We've been lazy. And this is what we get. So there's my fault. All right. Dog terrorizing another dog. Whose fault is it?
Both, I would say. If dogs are having like interpersonal issues, that's kind of between them. But if we can separate them or keep them, like manage that interaction the best we can, the more dogs practice things, the more reinforced the behavior is going to be. So we're letting that become more of a reliable behavior, that terrorizing. It's both. I mean, some dogs don't get along or some dogs are easy targets.
The easy target thing is always ignored, right? Like it's like some dogs just have that energy, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That they just,
you notice that at the dog park too. They just walk in and they just see them and they're like,
yeah. Dog barking at the mail person or delivery person. Whose fault is it?
I think it's the mail and delivery person's fault. And I only say this because they don't understand what they're there to do. Like, and it's hard as a pet parent to like do that because most delivery people are really scared of dogs for rightful reasons. So this is just an endless cycle that like nobody's at real fault for. But if you're looking at it cause and effect, it's their fault. They're coming over to their house and like doing stuff outside, making some noise, like,
Absolutely. Inevitable. For sure. 100% agree. How about the last one? Dog being panicked around strangers.
I would say both in that, get my words right. sometimes that's out of our like control, and the pet parent does have like the ability to set them up for success of like not maybe meeting strangers if they're too uncomfortable, or getting food when they meet strangers. You know, one of my dogs is kind of fearful, so there. But then, like, you know, we don't want to put all fault on like perhaps scarred behavior, you know, that can happen so easily.